dang, it is heating up in the summer here, but the action's even hotter. Across the ring and across the pond, this is Draped in Gold, powered by, well, I'll get to that in a minute. I'm Flobo Boyce. I'm having the time of my life being here with you, live on your screens, whether you're commuting, whether you're chilling at home, but as always, I am not alone. I'm being joined by the correspondent of Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, the all-around nice guy, not to forget the host of Anytime Radio Show, Jack Farmer. How's it going, sir?
What an episode of NXT UK we just got to watch. It might be one of the best ever. Are you kidding me? We had Pretty Deadly. We had Nina Samuels. We had Eddie Dennis. We had Supernova Sessions. Ginny. Everything went perfect today. It was the best episode ever. Mwah.
I felt the same way thinking it. I was like, this is pretty good, but it definitely feels like Jack had his hand on this. Maybe they watch us.
You know, I would love to take credit for it, but
I
think even if you're Sid Scalia, you can't, even if you're anyone running NXT, you look at just the stars I listed off, and you've got to say to yourself, this is the brand. I loved it. What a great show.
I want to give a shout out to everyone watching live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Before we get into NXT UK action, I got to say two announcements. First, Draped in Gold this week is brought to you by the Anytime Radio Show, hosted by our own Jack Farmer. Look at your favorite music tracks and drops over the past week. And more importantly, yesterday was a birthday, Jack. How'd you celebrate?
It was my birthday, and, you know, no matter what I do, these things just keep on coming. They keep on piling up, these birthdays.
Whoa. Like Ric Flair in the corner?
Yeah, no. At first, I'm like, hey, this is pretty cool. And they're like, wait, what? Uh-oh, they keep coming. You know, it was a good time. I kind of unplugged a little bit, got some work. And as you mentioned, though, Anytime Radio still got a new episode of that up and counted down the top 20 songs of the week. If you're one of those people that always want to stay on top of music, it's a great show to check out. So you can go to www.anytimeradio.com, check that out, and stay on top of all the top songs of the week.
I tell all my DJ clients, don't book Jack Farmer, book me, who actually bites off Jack Farmer and takes all of his style and tips. Isn't it great? I'm awful. Let's see. NXT UK this week, excuse me, just an hour ago. Main event time. Your boy's Pretty Deadly, side plate check and all, peck windows and all. How to match against Subculture. Well, I guess the result is pretty much there. I could tell by the look of satisfaction on your face. Your boys come out with the win. Thoughts about this one, Jack?
I think, look, these guys are men of the people, Pretty Deadly, giving us what we want, letting us see the show in the middle of the chest there. Great entrance attire by these fellas. And also, they were never in danger in this match. Sure, Subculture brought in some heat, but
we're champions.
I mean, look at how good Pretty Deadly look. When you look that good, you're just a better person, and that's how you win matches. These guys are never in danger. They're always going to be the champions. They're the best tag team in that division by a mile, not just in the looks department, but in the talent department.
Well, here's a paradox here. You're obviously wearing a tie, but I'm wearing a Jack Farmer t-shirt. So who's dressed better? I dare you to say yourself, because your merch is on my back. I was kind of surprised. I didn't say they would have lost the match, Jack, but you know, Subculture are former tag team champions. Why not go for the two-peat? Repeat?
I'm surprised that you're just so cavalier in supporting this group, Subculture, when they have Danny Luna on the outside getting involved, trying to sway this contest. Typically, you're the kind of person that would shake your finger at someone like that. You're the kind of person that would say, that's not fair. Let these two teams battle it out. Yeah, here she is getting involved, getting in the way, almost costing the champs the match. Why aren't you reprimanding Subculture?
You can't reprimand somebody. That's table stakes. We all knew Danny Luna's going to make sure to be defensive and protect the interests of our friend. She wasn't going out of her way to break rules. It was a natural course of the order of business. I don't understand these wild allegations, Jack.
You have someone, if this was anyone else, if this was Ginny on the outside, this was a Paul Heyman, if this was an MVP, if this was a Robert Stone, you would say that justice wasn't being served. Yet here we have Daniel Luna on the outside getting involved, She should have been thrown out, shouldn't have been allowed out there to begin with. Just because they are a subculture doesn't mean that they get to break the rules of the establishment. And I, for one, am very unhappy about this.
I didn't know the establishment had marks. Lamb says, because subculture is Flobo's favorite team. It's up there. I'm still trying to grow on me. Why not?
Yeah.
Well, here's a question to ask you real quick, Jack, before.
Yeah.
About Danny Luna. Don't you think she needs a partner in her division, or do you think having her around getting involved in matches, quote unquote, is pretty solid for what she's doing?
She's a great contender in the ring. I'd love to see her get more matches. Without a women's tag team division, I don't know if it really necessarily means anything for her to team up with someone else that's also female. But I think having her with Subculture gives her something to stand out in a women's division that is already filled with stars that are at the top. You got to stand out. Being different, being subculture-y is something that's going to make you stand out. Now, like most subcultures, like grunge music, it's a flash in the pan. It's a short-term thing, much like their offense in the match in the main event this week.
Wow.
But it might be something to get you to stand out for a moment.
What a jerk, man. Flash in the pan. Get it? Because Morgan Webster. Okay, fine. I got to move on there. But I thought the match is pretty solid. And I do think that Pretty Deadly is established themselves. I thought they would be transitional champions. Maybe I was wrong. But now more than ever, I do think they're pretty much here for the longer haul. It'll take us something more than standard fare to take them down.
If I can jump in real quick about
jump in there,
I should say, look, they're a great team. They're a great tag team. The problem is they're in a division that has so many great tag teams. It's going to be very difficult to stand out in the ring and not just with the attitude and video packages.
Lamb says the Peck presentation was Flobo's favorite moment this week on UXC. I dare you. How dare you call it a presentation? It was not a diorama. It was not a video package.
I'm with Lamb.
Stop.
I'm with Lamb.
Stop. We gotta move on because it's kind of awkward. Speaking of awkward, the Supernova Sessions is back, baby. With Noam Dar just dropping bars, apparently, having the guests on Ginny and Joseph Connor. So great she gets the pillow. But your boy Noam had tried shooting a shot until hilarious results. Jack Farmer and Supernova Sessions is one of your favorite parts of the show. What happened here this week?
I think Supernova Noam Dar did exactly what we all would do, and he shot his shot. Good for him, by the way. Just doing what he needs to do. What an amazing show every time. He's 11 in his best life. I loved it. And again, I think it was smart of him to ask the questions. We're all wondering what's going on with Ginny and Joseph Connors. I mean, she explained it to him, and what we all figured was the case. Smart people like to align with smart people, but you can't fault Supernova for doing what needed to be done and taking his shot. He's fighting for true love. I dare you to say that's a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing, but it's boyfriend material. Cringe. I cringe from across the pond. That's what I did. What was he thinking?
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, Flobo.
I mean, you're right. And I will say that I probably would, if Ginny walked in the room, I was kind of be like, hi. And that's as far as I would go. But yes, he totally crashed and burned. But the bigger issue here is Ginny called it Ava Valkyrie, someone that, as we see later on in the episode, has her own problems with Ginny. What is going down in this one? This is a future #1 contenders match waiting to happen.
I think that would make sense if these two had a match and the winner went on to get a title shot. I think they're both worthy people. You noticed in the show, Valkyrie, she hands over a feather and Ginny drops it. You know why? Because feathers don't go with any of her high-end fashion. What's she even going to wear a feather with? Come on. This is something. This is a matchup for Ginny to win here. And I know a lot of people think that Valkyrie's going to win this because she has all the what we call measurables in the ring. But the thing about people who dress well, and this goes with Joseph Connors as well, the people who put the thought into their presentation are meticulous people, Flobo. They think about everything. They don't just think about how they look. They think about how things are going to be presented, which means they think about their opponents, what they're going to do, how it's going to happen. They're detailed. They understand every little nuance of every little thing, and that's going to be the difference that gives Ginny the edge when these two finally square up.
interesting because I was kind of torn here. On paper, I should be aligning myself with the fan favorite. Eva Valkyrie has every reason to go on her redemption story. And Jenny, whether you like her or not, has just been involved in the most dastardly deeds in that division, aside from the former champion, Kaylee Ray. But when they stood side by side, it did seem that it was more Eva Valkyrie encroaching onto Jenny, which makes you wonder whether or not this will have a split alliance with the fans. Do you think it'll be down the middle, or do you think we're going to side with one competitor over the other?
I think the fans will sign with Valkyrie because I think the fans are very jealous of all Jenny has accomplished and all that she has and all that she's done. I think people get jealous. I think people don't like to see people be so successful. So they're going to align with Valkyrie because I think they see themselves in her, someone who's, you know, an underdog fighting from below, trying to punch her way up. I think people just align with that.
A Valkyrie's a powerhouse. What are you talking about? The underdog? Are you kidding me?
Anyone in the ring with Jenny is the underdog. That's just the way it is.
Are you on her payroll? That's what I want to know. Is she paying you with champagne because she doesn't drink cocktails? Is that what the deal is? What is going on?
By the way, it's a very, very common thing to do when you're someone of high society. Why are you going to drink just these dirty cocktails? You should always be drinking a celebratory drink like champagne when you're someone like Jenny. It just makes sense.
Well, I'm a sparkling cider guy myself, but moving on, we got to talk about this promo, which really unnerved me in a different way. Teoman and Maharaja were sitting down talking about brotherhood, being in this whole family thing, but they're at a table with nothing on it. No drinks, no food, no beverages, staring deep into the camera with what he wants to do. I am on board with this. I think Teoman needed something about personality. I think Rohan Raja needed something, but I'm not sure what's happening with these two guys.
I was getting Gary Oldman vibes from Teoman today. I don't know. He seemed like a character that he would play in a movie. But here's the thing. And this is where, again, people get so mad at Teoman because he's not just some friendly guy who's all full of hugs and kisses and everyone's the best. But what he is he's very directed. He's very focused, and family is very important to him. But the difference between his family and everyone else's family is you'll notice he lets people in. He lets in the guys that were once his rivals and says, look, we can get past our previous rivalry and we can become friends. We can work together. We can be stronger as a unit. Now, I don't see other teams doing that. I don't see other people doing that. We need to start looking to him as someone that we can learn from as far as burying the hatchet, water under the bridge. We're stronger together than we are alone.
Vin Diesel disagrees. Lamb says here, because family is very important in Turkish families, nationality and bloodline doesn't matter. It's all about family. That's what we learned here in Berlin. True. I actually had an interview with Black Prez, who's based in Berlin. It's a very open city. I always wanted to visit Germany at some point. And We Five Stud Muffin drops in to say, happy birthday, Jack.
Thank you, Johan. Appreciate it. Or Will Five Stud.
It'll go right to his head. Yeah, man, kayfabe, bro. What are you doing?
Sorry.
He's been out. I'm on board with this. Like I said before, I want to see them do more. I'm not sure how many empty table promos I can take, but that is okay because speaking of other promos that gave me a bit of pause, your boy Eddie Dennis and Symbiosis have a thing with Mustache Mountain, and they are looking for, I don't know, vengeance, put the hurting on them, destroy them. It's been a while. I've been critical off camera because I'm total wuss about Symbiosis, but how often they actually compete. But this match scheduled for next week will be a killer. Symbiosis with Eddie Dennis against Mustache Mountain. Thoughts?
Right now, Symbiosis, they're one of the best teams in the division. We just talked about Subculture and how they could be great if they were maybe in a different tag team division. But when you look at someone like Symbiosis, they're someone who is at the top of that division. And look, Mustache Mountain, they're up there too. I mean, I wouldn't put Mustache Mountain above, Pretty Deadly or Symbiosis or Imperium or, but I guess top 10, maybe.
They're the face of the division. What are you talking about?
How can you tell it's covered by these just atrocious beards and curled mustaches? How can you call them the face of anything?
What's wrong with beards, Jack? Tell me. Is there something wrong with beards?
If you had the curly mustache, then we'd be having a different conversation. I know, right?
Totally hipster mode.
This isn't a local brewery. This isn't some coffee house. This is NXT UK.
Wow, the disrespect across the board. fine. That aside, though, what's the deal with Symbiosis, man? Why are they the aggressors here?
They're the aggressors because, just like Eddie Dennis has said before, it's unfortunate that these guys get all the credit. Mustache Mountain gets all the credit, like from people like you, Flobo, who call them the face of the brand.
Yeah,
when Eddie Dennis has been there just as long, working just as hard, doing just as much. These guys deserve to be recognized as what NXT UK is, not just the face, but they deserve to be the backbone of the brand. But people like Mustache Mountain just love to hold down people. But finally, Symbiosis, they're coming together and they're saying, no, this is a new day. This is a new era. And Eddie Dennis is going to go from the backbone and the face to being the brains of NXT UK.
If Symbiosis is as good as you say they are, repeatedly, why are they not challenging for the tag team titles again? Why do they even waste their time with such a quote-unquote minnow like Mustache Mountain?
Because they've got business to finish. They're not one of these guys that just get distracted by shiny objects. They have a plan. They figured it out. They have a strategy. You don't just skip things in strategies. That's how plans fall apart. You go step by step, very detailed in how they handle things.
Speaking of handling things, speaking of this episode, which seems to be booked by Jack, Nina Samuels makes an appearance this week against Lauren DiMatteo. We've seen Lauren DiMatteo a couple of times during NXT UK, but Nina Samuels, I think, is the first time in a while since we've seen her. A lot more viciousness, a lot more aggression. She picks up the win, and it's all about her. You know, she seems to have recovered nicely from being Xia Brookside's personal assistant there, Jack.
Did you notice the fantastic tan Laura DiMatteo was getting in the spotlight next to Nina Samuels? I thought that was just amazing that she had that opportunity. Nina Samuels, why did we have to wait so long to get her back? Probably because Xia Brookside had to try to also hold down someone who was so great. Nina Samuels is a star. Did you notice the way the lights just were always shining on her anywhere she goes? She can't escape them because when you are a star, you shine brightly. I'm glad to see her back. I'm glad to see her getting some big wins. I'm glad to see her putting away the cleaning supplies, but I am proud of her for following through on what she promised she would do. But she's done with that. She's back in the ring, and that means all of us win.
So just a minute ago, you said probably the winner between Ava Valkyrie and Jenny may arguably be the presumptive number one contender, but you are a long-term fan of Nina Samuels with a win today. Not saying she's up there quite yet. Would she be in the conversation sooner rather than later?
She's been away for a while. Again, unfortunately, because Xia Brookside is someone who is just conniving.
Do not blame Xia Brookside. There was a wager. She lost a wager. It happens. Using
her political pull to hold down Nina Samuels. But Nina Samuels has broken free. She's now able to start getting back in the ring. It's going to take some time to get back up the rankings because the NXT UK women's division is a tough division. It will take some time. It will take some wins, but I know someone like Nina Samuels always rises to the top, so she'll get there sooner or later.
And do you think with the new talent like Blair Davenport and Laura DiMatteo and Stevie Turner that Nina Samuels can find a way to the top, or will she be lost in the shuffle as well?
Someone like Nina Samuels is never lost in the shuffle. She's always the person the camera's
on. Why
I
even ask these questions?
She will find her way to that title opportunity. And frankly, if I'm Meiko Satomura, I'm super excited about the chance because I don't think she's ever had a match with someone who's going to get as many eyeballs as a star like Nina Samuels. Even in Meiko Satomura's big career, this has got to be the biggest star she could ever potentially step in the ring with.
It absolutely astounds me how you could just go to bat for Nina, who hasn't been on TV forever. Eddie Dennis has lost his 2 matches outright and say these people are disrespected. Astounds me, Jack.
It's because, look, I get paid to pay attention. That's what I do here on this
you
show.
Get paid?
I know that. I know what's going on. I see between the lines. A lot of people just watch and they just accept what's being presented. Me, I know what's going on. I can see beyond. I see the story within the story, and that's how I know who the future is. That's why I'm able to do this. That's why I've got a perfect prediction record with an
That's not With an asterisk. Okay, did you predict this one? 1, Joseph Connor is having a match this week. And 2, winning that match against Tristan Archer. There's someone that really gave him a run for his money with a very unique mat-based affair. I want to say it was the match of the night. I know storylines matter for a lot more things. We'll get to the big story at the end of this episode, but I thought for move, hole for hole, this one was kind of my favorite.
This was actually a really good match, and I think Tristan Archer did himself a lot of favors, looking really good in this match, to your point, and it's good back and forth here. Again, Joseph Connors, he gets the win. As I said before, people who understand fashion understand the details, and I think the details is where Joseph Connors was able to get the edge here and get the win, and that's why he's been on such a streak lately. But Tristan Archer, I think he did himself a lot of favors, and I'd like to see him back.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty solid. There seems to be a lot of people that kind of like show up and leave, like Josh Farrell, and hopefully they can stay around. I think Tristan have a good place on the brand. There were some other quick hits we saw today as well, with one Rampage Brown getting back into form, and Jack Starr taking Dave Mastiff. I like the fact NXT UK always finds a way to get the smaller storylines progressing even on off weeks.
Yeah, they do such a good job of giving us stuff without having to feel like, I don't know if it's because of the, I should say, to start over, they do a great job of giving us all these different storylines, like you said. And I don't know if it's because they only have an hour, so they need to make sure things are compacted. But it is amazing how with just a few seconds, they're able to continue things or remind us of different wrestlers and things like Jack Stars and Dave Mastiff. That's something that I think in a lot of places, they would have either just said, hey, we don't have time for that, never mind, or they would have said, we need to do a 10-minute in-ring promo that took up a big chunk of time. But with NXT UK, one of the things that makes the show so great is it is so good about, I guess, maximizing the seconds, maximizing the minutes. It's almost like when someone says pound for pound, someone's the best. I think pound for pound, NXT UK really is the best programming.
And this makes it even more troubling. My boy Ash doesn't get backstage promos, but it's okay. I'm not mad. I'll tune in next week. Real quick before I move on to the top story of the day, AK Jordan Devlin, 30-minute Iron Man match is on the horizon. Thoughts about that one?
I was wondering, A-Kid's got an injured leg. A-Kid, what happens if he's hurt and he can't go 30 minutes? Does he have to wait 30 minutes for medical staff to help him? Does he have to wait 30 minutes until it's like, because technically the match doesn't end just because he's hurt. Technically the match doesn't end just because he even taps out. What's going to happen to A-Kid when that leg gets damaged even further and he's only 5 minutes into the match and now he's got to find a way to not get permanently crippled for the rest of his life over the next 25 minutes because he's had so much damage to his leg. Flobo, this is dangerous for A-Kid. This is a dangerous situation for him. And if I'm him, I am swallowing my pride. I'm pulling out of the match because it's just not worth risking it against someone as dangerous as Jordan Devlin.
Guys, if you're listening to this or watching this, whatever platform, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, or on audio podcast, please nominate my broadcast colleague, Jack Farmer, for an Emmy, because that was a performance for our lives. I felt everything. I was on the roller coaster, too. Stop the match, ref. Stop the match. This is too vicious. I agree with you, though. Jordan Devlin will kill him. I'm just going to be honest with you. Devlin will destroy A-Kid. I said it here first. And if I'm wrong, asterisk.
Jordan Devlin's the man. He's the man. He's the guy.
He's Irish Ice. Yeah. So our top story today was actually top of the hour. This was supposed to be Dragunov Walter 2, and we got a video package, or these three guys flew in to do 1 minute of promo behind stage. William Regal, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels have saying this match is going to continue at the 36th TakeOver, August 22nd, which is odd because it comes after SummerSlam for the first time. Dragunov Walter 2. Lot to unpack here, Jack. I have feelings about the announcement. What feelings do you have?
First off, so there's a number of things about this. One, poor Sid. He gets one of the biggest announcement opportunities as he's been running this division week in and week out for the past year. And then as soon as the biggest announcement available comes, they're like, we're going to take this one, Sid. Sorry. Poor guy. But I want to talk about Walter and Dragunov being on NXT TakeOver. And This is something that I think is going to be such an awesome advertisement for NXT UK for people who only watch the US versions of NXT, because they will get to see two guys that do it the NXT UK way on one of the biggest platforms for all NXT wrestling. Takeover. It's going to be a SummerSlam takeover, as you mentioned. This is going to look. I know Walter had a match with Ciampa, and no disrespect to Ciampa, but there is a difference when you see Walter in the ring with Dragunov, and this is going to be something that leaves all NXT US viewers' mouths agape seeing these two go at it again.
So I'm torn with this one. I feel on one hand, as a business interest, sure, you had this one match that got so much buzz that they basically released it in parts on social media. People who've seen it say it was one of the best matches they've seen in a long, long time. If you have an opportunity to put your talent on the big stage possible, you do. But even though I sit here in my one-bedroom apartment in Los Angeles, I'm watching it. Well, Triple H goes, "We're going to do it in America." There was a part of me going, but what's the point of a UK brand if you go to that well all the time and say, hey, look, our last big NXT UK title match, the one that Pete Dunne lost the belt to Walter, was also on a takeover. There has to be a time you have to trust UK enough, right, to bring its own fans to the show without having to have all your marquee matches on American programming?
You make a good point, to be fair. That is true. But at the same time, NXT TakeOver is going to be a bigger platform than the UK audience. And no disrespect to the NXT UK audience, it's just the smaller fragment of the viewership. So even though I get what you're saying, you're still giving them a bigger platform. And I think giving a bigger platform is always the better way to go. My question is, does that mean this is technically a world title?
I think so. I think it's the most traveled. If Walter could defend it the same week in two continents.
Because he's done it. This will be the third U.S. match that it's had, right? So the third time it's been defended in just a couple of years on in another country. That is more than any other world title that I can think of.
Oh yeah, you're not wrong at all. And the United Kingdom Championship is traveled. And I always think about this, like if they come up with another like continental championship, I can't think of what it will be. Like if someone said we have an African championship, not the Pan-African one, or if we had an Asian championship, it wouldn't hit the same. But United Kingdom, traveling the world, like I don't know, I'm with it. I'm all about it.
Yeah, because this would be it would be a third time because when it was, I guess 2 years ago, or 3 years ago. When did Pete Dunne have the match in the States against Walter? 2019.
So
in just over 2 years or so. Yeah, because then between then Ciampa and now this one, three times on a different continent. I don't know any other title off the top of my head that has been to a different continent 3 times in 2 years.
Yeah, I think he's at 830 days. That's over 2 years. So that definitely would be it. Before we move on to NXT Prime, any last final words about this week's episode of UK?
Just another solid episode. Every week they do such a good job. I said it earlier. NXT UK is pound for pound best wrestling you're going to get in an hour. I can't believe all they're able to accomplish without feeling like they rush anything. In fact, all they did this week and that main event felt like it was a banger of a main event that had some time too. Just really well done. I mean, wrestlers are always great and they get all the credit, but I also want to give credit to production team over there. I know they have some piped in crowd noise, obviously, because of what's been going on. The best piped in crowd noise for whatever it's worth, by the way. But just everyone a part of that production seems to be really knocking it out of the park. And everyone behind the scenes, I think, deserves a big shout out over at NXT UK as well.
Absolutely. Let's talk about our main event here at NXT, the Tuesday Night Delight. The NXT Women's Championship was on the line. Raquel Gonzalez, La Reina, Big Mommy, sexy, Big Mommy cool, against Xia Li of Tian Sha. Now, here's a match I had my own reservations in going into it. I said it was kind of quick, but no worries. The match was great until how it ended. Jack Farmer, thoughts about the way this one shook out?
So I think that right off the bat, I got to give Xia Li a bunch of credit. No one has taken it to Raquel Gonzalez quite the same way Xia Li did. She really brought some fight. She seemed almost unstoppable and really almost had Raquel in a dangerous spot until, you're right, Raquel was able to hit a huge move. And you can be as tough as you want, but sometimes certain things happen to the human body and it prevents you from being able to continue. And I don't know what happened with Xia Li. Clearly something was amiss. Something went wrong. She wasn't able to keep going. But I want to focus here on something. Two things happened when this whole thing broke down. One, Xia Li wanted to keep going. Think about how much toughness that takes when you have an injury, when something's gone wrong, but you still want to keep going, and it still takes another massive move to put you down. But also, how terrifying must Tian Sha be knowing that Xia Li, whatever was going wrong, was willing to keep fighting Raquel Gonzalez, then go back with a loss. She was willing to keep doing harm to her body, then take a loss in that moment. And that tells me something is incredibly terrifying if you would rather get slammed down in the center of the ring by Raquel Gonzalez than just accept defeat.
To me, something felt weird from the get-go, man. The challenge camp seemed out of nowhere. There was no Boa. There was no Minya. It felt like it was a side quest to begin with. And with the way it ended, you can't foresee that. No one was foreseeing that. Is Tian Sha done? Do they need to be off the shelf for a bit? Do they need to do a little bit of a reboot? Or is it just kind of like, hey, man, Flobo's top with that. All is lost. The sky is falling stuff. They'll be back next week. Don't worry about it.
Well, I think it depends what kind of damage has been done to Xia Li. Again, I don't know what happened. I don't know what it seemed like there was an injury there, but I don't know what that was. And I think depending on what that is, if it's something that, hey, she can, take a nice bath, stretch it out, she'll be fine, then I think that's one thing. But if it's something like a broken rib or something that's going to take time to heal, then they might not have a choice. They might not be able to, because even if you're tough enough to gut out things like an injured rib, that's something that prevents you from breathing. That's something that prevents you from being able to do just the basic functions of life. And you just might not have an option to come back. So I think it'll depend on what the doctor says, what happened to Xia Li. I hope we see her back sooner rather than later. I think she's just amazing. I think everything they've been doing has been amazing. I really hope we see her again soon too. But for now, all hail the champ, Raquel Gonzalez. I don't know anyone who's going to be able to take that title off her, because she has literally been putting down the most dangerous people in the entire division.
I nominate you, Jack. But moving on. You can do it. No, you can't. No, you can't. We're NXT, and we talk about NXT UK, but it's kind of hard to not discuss this next thing. Karrion Kross is having a week of very notable moment, to say the least. After choking out Samoa Joe last week, Joe was on the warpath trying to find Karrion Kross, but he went rogue and somehow injured or knocked out William Regal. But before that, there was Monday Night Raw, which begs the question. Well, up there's many. One, does NXT and Raw don't exist on the same plane? Because there's no way he's going to roll back from Texas back to Florida today. And two, has your image of Karrion Kross changed any? Going from choking out Joe, being on Raw on Monday, and the events today, this week on NXT.
I mean, after I saw Raw, I was thinking to myself, maybe Karrion Kross should be a little nicer to William Regal. Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe he should. Hey, sorry we got off on the wrong foot, William.
Right.
But I definitely want to stay around. I don't know. I don't know what happened with Raw. Whenever you have that kind of travel, whenever you're flying around to different places, there's travel fatigue. I don't know what happened with that. Maybe Karrion Kross was just trying to send a message to the guys back on the Black and Gold brand.
Yeah.
I don't know if it went according to plan, but at the end of the day, Karrion Kross still got one up on Samoa Joe and William Regal. I don't know if it was a smart thing, because Joe just seems very angry, and I would not want to mess with him. But again, William Regal showing he has no control over his whole locker room. I have a question for you, though, that has something to do with these guys.
I asked you questions. What's going on?
We started the show with the End is Near theme playing from Armageddon a while back, if I'm not mistaken. How do you feel about them reusing music? Do you say, hey, it was so long ago, no one remembers, no one cares? Hey, it's a fun throwback? Or are you like, look, guys, come up with new music?
You know what? It's a cop-out answer, but I'm saying depends. If you ask me specifically about The End Is Near, I think NXT has used that so much, I'm kind of bored of it. But if they brought back old songs like the old Money Bin and Bank song, I wouldn't care. The one track I absolutely cannot stand, and they've been using it for 30 years now, is the sound they play when they lower the Hell in the Cell. It doesn't make anything better. It's just like, do something else. I don't feel any more tense. I don't feel any more into it. That to me is the one thing that makes my skin crawl, because it's definitely an artificial push, but they won't give it up. You know, if I do a joke for 30 years that it doesn't slap, give it up. You know,
right? Yeah, it's interesting. That's a good point. They do that one a lot. I don't really know how I feel about. There's a part of me that's like, oh yeah, this, and then there's a part of me that's like, you're still, I don't know. I think the song carries the weight, but you're right. They kind of use a bit. I don't know. I guess it works, but to a point, at some point, you're like, okay, let's mix it up a and then but
yeah, bring back Deadly Game. It's a deadly game.
I loved that song, by the way. So good with and then they had the skull graphic.
Talking about throwbacks. Jeez.
Bruno Sammartino, you know.
Who's a Bruno Sammartino today? We won't know. Speaking of awesome throwbacks, the $1 Million champion, LA Knight, had a match against Drake Maverick, because Drake, unfortunately, was a nice guy. The match itself was interesting, with Drake Maverick getting the win, but Cameron Grimes was conscripted to help beat him down after the fact. And what is a butler to do, Jack? You have a couple of those. What's up?
What a terrible butler Cameron Grimes is, right? I mean, I watched this guy, and I mean, he can't even hold a title right. And if not for him hitting LA Knight with the title, LA Knight would have gotten a win here. I think that William Regal should be reviewing the tape a little bit and making sure to reverse the decision and fix this wrong that clearly happened. But I like LA Knight. I like what he did here. He could have just said, I'm crabby about it, and thrown a big hissy fit, but no. He used it as a teaching experience. He used it to help Cameron Grimes learn what it takes to be $1 million mega star. Maybe help him learn what it means to hold that title up the way he's supposed to. I thought LA Knight handled this loss with grace, with dignity, and helped make a couple of guys better people for it after it was all done. We should really be giving him a round of applause.
I don't understand why you're saying that Cameron Grimes is a bad butler. It wasn't like he was training to be a butler. He lost a match. I would be a terrible butler too. Ask girl Nina Samuels. She was awful as the personal assistant.
She did a fantastic job. She was cleaning bathrooms. She was making tea. Nina Samuels did a wonderful job showing, again, just how talented she is. Cameron Grimes, on the other hand, can't even hold the title up in the air. That's the least you could do if you're going to be a butler. I think they teach that day one of butler school.
I wouldn't know, but I know Jack has a living suit guy, a living tie guy. All those people are part of the butler staff.
Yeah, and they can hold the suit above their head, no problem. I can tell you that much.
Let me talk to you. We had action to break out tournament. Andre Chase, a former Harlem Bravado, against Odyssey Jones in a match what gave me Virtual Fighter vibe throwbacks. Odyssey Jones gets to win, and I do think, to me, he's the early favorite to break out here in this tournament. Jack Farmer, you love a good old hoss. How do you feel about this one?
I loved Odyssey Jones. I think he did a great job standing out, showing out. I think when you're someone his size with his speed, we've seen guys like him with size and speed before, and they always do well. No matter how good you are at wrestling, if someone's big, strong, and fast, they're always going to be dangerous in the ring. I think that's something that Odyssey Jones has, but he's also got some spunk. He's also got some fire to him. That's what I really liked about him. He wasn't just doing the moves, but there's just a little bit of excitement in what he was doing. And I really appreciated that. You're right. I kind of feel like he's got to be an early favorite.
I got to talk to the elephant in the room. I don't see it, but there's a lot of talk about Odyssey being the, quote, next Keith Lee. Thoughts about that?
I get why those things are being said. But
why is it, Jack? No, I'm just kidding. I don't put you on the spot.
Yeah, I think we know. I think we know why.
Is it fair? Is it a fair assessment or no?
I think it's a very surface level fair assessment. I mean, he's a big guy that can do a leapfrog. That's about it, and there's some visual similarities that are clear, but I think from that's about all we're at. You know, I mean, again, you look at the excitement level of Odyssey Jones, and where Keith Lee is much more cool, calm, and collected in what he does, where Odyssey seems fired up. I think they're two very different personalities.
So moving on, also speaking of personality clashes, Legado del Fantasma and Hit Row. Look like they're having a bit of a gang warfare action in the middle of the ring. These are two teams that I can say, you can argue, you can prophesize that they're a little, antagonistic, but they don't like each other at all. Jack Farmer, who do you have, and what's up with the clash?
So I am going to pick a side here, and I
know you are.
It's tough because I think both sides have a lot of things going for them. I just got to say that there are two things I want to point out. One, I love that Santos Escobar is like, I'm not having some goofy, corny gimmick match with these weapons and instruments around here. I'm better than that. I love that he said that. I also love that Hit Row came out and Swerve said, look, you made me jump through hoops when you were the champ. Now I'm going to do the same thing to you. These are two teams that I cannot wait to see go at it more than they already have. And I think Escobar versus Swerve is going to be a classic if and when we ever get it.
So who do you pick?
I think it's pretty clear, Flobo.
No, you said you were going to pick one.
I just broke it down.
Oh, you did?
Were you listening?
I kind of was.
Don't they teach in journalism school? You listen and you write it down, Flobo.
Okay, so in the match, 1, 2, 3, who thinks gonna win then?
Us, the fans, Flobo.
Oh, right.
We're gonna win.
Let's go to the fans. You can't even get Peacock to load your show on time. Look at me started.
Right. Well, yeah, it's that's a whole other thing. That's one team I will pick a side on.
I was neutral for the other reason. I wasn't a fan of either one of these for different reasons. I felt like Santos was great, but Mendoza and Wilder kind of like, but I think Hit Row's a stronger team. But I think Swerve is the corniest guy in that squad. That's right, I said it. But I'm torn. I like how fresh Hit Row is. I like the legacy of Legado del Fantasma. If I was a wrestling novelist, if I had to write stories based on the characters, I'm going to go side with Legado. Me personally. Not sure if it's going to be the case because I know Hit Row needs that rub, but I would side with Legado.
Legado del Fantasma is, look, I talk a lot about different groups all the time, but we have Legado del Fantasma, literally one of the coolest groups around that I think can be so much more than they already are. And I think they're great as they are right now. And I think Santos Escobar is really starting to tap into something that I don't think anyone else is doing that stands out. It's so subtle in how he does it. You and I have talked about how, him talking about his lineage and who he is and his kids and all these other stuff is such an amazing thing he has here. I also like Hit Row and I like what they're doing. I'm going to be honest with you though, when they came out and they were rhyming, it felt a little bit like, what are you doing? It's time to fight. Why are you rhyming right now? Like that to me, that felt a little weird. Like I get that they rap, but it felt also like you guys they're saying, come on out. I want to fight you. And they're coming out singing. Like
it's a little uneven for me because there's supposed to be a rapping group, but we don't establish if B-Fab wrestles. She does, but she hasn't wrestled in NXT. And Adonis wrestles, but he doesn't rap. So it's like he's just like there. It's like not as fortified as it needs to be, but you're right. Roll down there, have a bit of a fight, and then be the Death Row and Hit Row, and then move on to next week. Then you can wrap in your promos and have a time of your life. I agree with you, unfortunately.
Yeah, this felt like the time for fists, not the time for words, and it felt like they came out bringing words to a fist fight.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. Unless you're Jack Farmer. He always talks himself out of a fight.
Very quick to talk myself out of confrontation.
Speaking of someone talking himself into confrontation, Austin Theory had a match with cool Kyle O'Reilly. And, well, I thought the match was pretty solid, but Kyle O'Reilly gets the win by submission. Austin Theory loses pretty handily a lot on NXT. Jack, you had reservations and concerns about Cool Kyle and what he stands for. Now, this week is definitely nothing to sniff at. You can't really put anything on him. It's kind of a holding pattern to the next match. But has anything starting to click for you at all, or is it pretty much the same?
I love that he started getting angry. I love, for me, Cool Kyle O'Reilly started when he started gritting his teeth. Once Austin Theory grabbed those ring steps, that is when Kyle O'Reilly really started. Everything before that was just whatever. But that tonight, when he got angry, when he started getting that Ken Shamrock rage in him, that is when we started getting the real Kyle O'Reilly. And for me, if he starts tapping into that more often and earlier, he can be a real threat. That said, I have to say, Flobo, I don't give this award willy-nilly. I think Austin Theory is the most improved wrestler of the past year by a mile.
How can he improve if he's a prodigy?
When you look at where he was, there was a time when he was actually he's on the main roster. You think that would mean something more, but he was borderline forgettable, not coming on TV anymore. And now he is someone who has changed who he is. He's gotten under the guidance of Johnny Gargano, and he's really started to learn from his learning tree. And now you could hear the crowd, even with Kyle O'Reilly in the ring, they were chanting for Austin Theory. They were getting behind him. And dare I say, he had a very sympathetic moment when the way was gathered up at the end of near the end of the show. And he held out his hand for that high five, that no-look high five. Austin Theory, I think, is someone who's about to turn a big corner and someone who you should definitely be keeping your eye on right now.
I agree with Jack and disagree. Let us know in the comments and chat below. And if you're listening on the audio version, drop that 5 stars, baby. But we got to move on. Bobby Fish and Kushida had a match against Diamond Mine. Tag team action, top of the show. Bobby Fish and Kushida getting the win. And I feel like a broken record, but I don't care. I'll start it up. What is up with Diamond Mine, Jack? What is up with Diamond Mine, Jack? What is up with
You know, it was not a good day for Diamond Mine. Not a good week. When you come in and your purpose is that you are better trained, more serious in the ring, someone who's going to get it done once the bell rings, and then you lose in like your third week out, that's not a good look, especially when you lose to a team that's a ragtag thrown together team that's never worked before. Diamond Mine is supposed to be the cohesive team that knows how to get it done, knows how to work together, has the fluidity. Bobby Fish and Kushida, they just kind of got together in a marriage of convenience, one that needed to happen, not because they know each other, not because they've worked together, yet they still found a way to beat this team that's supposed to have all of the rough edges sanded down. If you're Diamond Mine, if I'm Malcolm Bivens, I'm going back to the locker room, and I am very worried about what this means about the future of Diamond Mine.
It's interesting to me that this team has been together for whether 3 weeks on screen or 3 months with promos. And once they debut, the promos dried up. Like, I still don't know what they're about. Why are they together? How did they find Suzuki? Does he say anything? Like, why is Roderick Strong wasting his time with Tyler Russ when he was retired? There are so many like storyline distangles there that could have been addressed that hasn't been yet. Or maybe I'm just not watching the show close enough.
Well, as a viewer, that is where we're at. We don't really know. I think at this point, all we really know is that they are a team that takes wrestling seriously. They're a team that wants to be the very best, and they're sort of guns for hire. They want to get in those high dollar value matches and make some money along the way. But that said, again, if you can't be a team, it's not, look, they didn't lose to MSK. You know, they didn't lose to a team that's been together for a long time and has worked together for a long time. They lost to a guy who focuses on singles division action, and Kushida, who's a singles competitor, a singles champion, and a guy, Bobby Fish, who's just getting back from injury and has only had a handful of matches. Again, if I'm one of the trainers at Diamond Mine, or if I'm running Diamond Mine, I'm looking at my trainer saying, "You're fired. You weren't able to get my guys ready." Our guys, Diamond Mine should have bulldozed Bobby Fish and Kushida. And look, I love Bobby Fish. I like Kushida. They should have bulldozed them, and they lost. And to me, that is a huge issue that is going to take more than reviewing the tape when they get back to the locker room.
You think it's like Cobra Kai, where it's like a gym in a strip mall somewhere, like Reseda, or like outside of Orlando? Just
I'd like to think it's not Reseda, and I'd like to think it's not Reseda. I'd like to think it is a little more classy than that, but no offense, Reseda. I'm sorry.
All the offense, I said he'll be tough.
I think even Reseda would say, "Yeah, I thought they were in a nicer place."
Yeah, I thought they were
There's nothing wrong with Reseda. It's just funny.
Yeah, totally. I'll totally pile on. That's how you know you're a heel. This town Rosita is the worst. Okay. Well, we got to wrap this up before I do, Jack. For me, what time it is? It's time for things I've noticed while watching NXT this week. It's some burning questions, baby. You can help me out with this?
Let's do it.
All right. What do you make of this whole Frankie Monet, Jessica Maya, Mandy Rose situation?
I think you have someone like Frankie Monet who's coming in, showing what being a star looks like, but you've got one of the OG stars, Mandy, coming back to show her how it's done. I think however this pans out, it's going to be a very fun ride to see who establishes dominance as the big star of the show.
With Kushida in that matchup this week, is the Cruiserweight title ended up becoming an open weight, almost X Division-like title, you think?
I don't think so. I think it'll stay Cruiserweight. I think he may have some matches with guys who are above the 205 mark, but it'll always come back down to that weight. I don't think they're going to change it. How
long do you think Cameron Grimes will be a Butler?
You know, they never said how long, so I would assume forever.
That's it.
I mean, if you don't have an end date,
wrestling is permanent. That's just...
if you don't have an end date in the agreement, then it's forever.
True or false? Austin Theory will be the cause of breaking up the way.
False.
Do you have an idea? I'm just going to say false.
You just asked me true or false.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Related. How does the Indy Hartwell Dexter storyline end?
It's already over. Dexter's done. He should hop back on whatever dating app he's using. Let poor Indy move on with her life.
SmackDown is in 2 cities this week, in Cleveland and in Miami for Rolling Loud. Do you think NXT could ever swing that? And if they could, would you want to see that?
I think they could. Would I want to see it? I don't know if I really enjoy the 2-city one-night thing as much. I say just one city's fine.
Another true or false for you. It's going to be Andre Chase. That will be the first round cast off that actually comes around and breaks out.
So far, true.
So far. This that hedging on that bet. And finally, from Hit Row, is B-Fab from Hit Row ever going to wrestle?
Eventually she will, for sure. NXT is a brand that makes sure their women's division is always stacked. And if they've got talent ready to go, they're going to use it.
Well, that's fair enough. But Jack, we have to get out of here, man. I've got some of that residual birthday cake to eat. But before we get that, it's now time for the MVP of NXT. That's the person or tag team or thing that totally stuck out for you, or NXT UK or NXT. Jack, who you got?
I'm going Karrion Kross. In the in very short time, he was able to make us forget what happened on an off night on a Monday and show that he is still a guy that can pull strings and take out whoever, wherever he wants. I thought this was a great showing for him, particularly with how the week started.
MVP stands for most valuable. You sure you want to lock that in there? Are you sure?
Sure, I guess.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? My birthday was actually last month. It was Jack's birthday yesterday. But thank you, appreciate it, man. No, look, man, it's only 2 options. Either you go Raquel Gonzalez NXT or Pretty Deadly NXT UK, because that's how dominant they are. Karrion Kross had a very wobbly week. We don't talk about Raw that much, but I'm just saying, how do you choke out someone last week, all bold and brazen, and this week you're hiding out from the guy? I'm just, hey, why you do that? Wow.
He's calling his shots. He's picking his shots. That's what's happening here. Of course, he could have just come down to the ring and played Samoa Joe's game, but this isn't Samoa Joe's game. This is Karrion Kross's game, and he's got to come into his web if he wants to play.
Lordy. Well, Draped and Gold comes back to you next week. Jack Farmer, if someone wants to give you belated birthday wishes and or subscribe to your OnlyFans, how do you go about doing that?
Yeah, you can follow me at Real Jack Farmer across all social media, and make sure to check out today's sponsor, Anytime Radio. You can go to www.anytimeradio.com and listen to the top 20 songs of the week, or you can hit a follow on Spotify or on Mixcloud. Those are the only Spotify Premium, I should say. You got to be a premium member to take advantage of Anytime Radio. But yeah, check us out there.
Having to pay to listen to your content, so on brand. But it's at Flobo Boyce on social media. 2 sites to know, 3 sites to know, actually. Flobito.com if you want to book me. NewAmsterdam.com, KNEW.Amsterdam.com if you want to know more about the shows I do. And, of course, DrapedandCold.com, baby. Tell people about the show. Share it if you have fans of NXT and NXT UK. We appreciate you. We'll be back here next Thursday. But until that time, Jack Farmer, say the words.
Do your best and be yourself.